The human gut is not just a digestive organ, it's an intricate command center that plays a surprisingly powerful role in our emotions, immune responses, cravings, and decisions. For years, scientists have been peeling back the layers of this mysterious second brain, but recent discoveries around a so-called neurobiotic sense may be among the most groundbreaking yet. This concept suggests that our gut microbiota don't just passively coexist with us, they actively shape our neural landscape by engaging in a kind of microbial dialogue with the brain through specialized cells called neuropods. This hidden sensory pathway isn't just interesting, it may redefine how we understand hunger, mental health, immunity, and even personality. At the core of this idea is the discovery that certain gut cells can directly communicate with the brain in milliseconds through electrical impulses, rather than waiting for slower chemical signals like hormones to kick in. These neuropods act like synaptic translators, tiny biological messengers that interpret microbial signals and relay them along the vagus nerve straight into the brainstem. This is a revolutionary departure from the older view that the gut primarily influenced the brain through long, indirect hormonal cascades. Instead, we are beginning to understand that the gut operates almost like a sensory organ in its own right, akin to the eye or ear, but one focused on the microscopic ecosystem within us. What makes this neurobiotic sense so powerful is how it blurs the boundary between self and other. Microbes, foreign organisms by any traditional definition, are not simply tolerated. They're integral. They produce neurotransmitters like serotonin, dopamine, GABA, and short-chain fatty acids that can modulate the host's mood, motivation, and even cognition. With neuropods acting as rapid relays, these chemical outputs are no longer just diffusing through the bloodstream but are being read and responded to as if they were part of our internal experience. This is not metaphor. The body treats these microbial signals as sensory input, something to react to, make decisions by, and even feel as part of subjective experience. One of the most striking implications of this neurobiotic sense is its influence on hunger and satiety. Traditional models framed appetite as largely reactive, based on energy deficits or glucose dips. But with microbial populations known to shift rapidly based on diet and stress, and with neuropods able to instantly broadcast these changes to the brain, the very concept of hunger begins to look more like a conversation than a signal. Gut microbes can nudge us towards certain foods, not just by creating cravings, but by modulating how those cravings feel, how urgent, how pleasurable, how satisfying they are. They may even suppress hunger when it's evolutionarily advantageous, to conserve energy. This suggests that gut flora composition isn't just about digestion, it is behavioral architecture. From a mental health perspective, the neurobiotic sense offers a hopeful and biologically grounded explanation for the well-documented gut-brain connection. Depression, anxiety, and stress-related disorders often correlate with microbiome dysbiosis, and for good reason. When microbial signals are skewed, either from poor diet, antibiotics, or chronic stress, the brain may start to receive distorted sensory information from the gut. In this light, conditions like depression may sometimes be more sensory distortions than purely chemical imbalances. And if neuropods are involved in transmitting microbial signals that shape reward sensitivity or threat detection, then modulating this pathway may become a new frontier for psychiatric treatment, one where symbiotics, psychobiotics, or even dietary fiber play a legitimate therapeutic role. Immunity is also deeply intertwined with this concept. The neurobiotic sense doesn't operate in isolation from the immune system. Instead, it likely helps coordinate a real-time assessment of microbial activity. Neuropods can help the brain feel whether the gut is safe or under threat, modulating the autonomic nervous system accordingly. This could explain why stress can trigger inflammatory flares or why gut infections can lead to malaise and mood disturbances. It also opens the door to new therapies for autoimmune and inflammatory diseases by targeting not just immune cells, but the gut sensory system that governs their behavior. Even human behavior, long assumed to be the product of culture, cognition, and free will, may be partially shaped by microbial preferences. The neurobiotic sense gives microbes a seat at the table of behavioral regulation. It's not that we are puppets to bacterial whims, but rather that our choices, particularly around food, social interaction, and stress, may be subtly steered by a system that blends internal chemistry with external cues in a way that feels entirely seamless. A gut that's home to more diverse and beneficial microbes might bias us toward calmer, more resilient, and more pro-social behaviors, not because those traits are morally better, but because they foster a more stable internal environment that benefits both host and microbes. In this light, Cultivating a healthy gut isn't just about digestion or avoiding disease. It becomes an act of neural hygiene and emotional regulation. Fiber-rich diets, fermented foods, exposure to nature, and stress reduction may all enhance the neurobiotic sense, sharpening our ability to feel what our bodies need in a biologically informed way. Far from being an abstract theory, this suggests that our well-being is partially mediated through a living internal dialogue that is constantly ongoing, subtle, and dynamic. The neurobiotic sense is not a sixth sense. It's something older and more primal. It is an ancient, symbiotic system built not on sight or sound, but on molecular cooperation. And the more we learn to understand and nurture it, the more we may discover not just better health, but a richer experience of what it means to be human.